She spilled drinks on him because of his red Maga hat, thinking he was a provocateur. But when she learned he was a retired major and a friend of the restaurant's owner, her world turned upside down. The Lavender Corner, a bustling and beloved restaurant, was in full swing during the lunch rush. The staff moved swiftly between tables, balancing trays of delicious dishes, while soft background music created a soothing atmosphere. Patrons chatted quietly as they savored their meals. Amid the activity, a man of average height and sturdy build walked through the door. He appeared to be in his early 40s, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans. However, all eyes were immediately drawn to the bright red hat he wore, boldly emblazoned with the words, "Make America Great Again." Mia, a 25-year-old waitress with short dark hair, spotted him right away. Her expression darkened as soon as her gaze landed on the hat. To her, it symbolized division, intolerance, and everything she believed was unjust. Though Mia usually avoided conflicts, the sight of that hat sparked an instant reaction. She could feel her irritation building with each passing second. The man walked confidently to a table by the window, a spot favored by regulars. Sitting down, he appeared entirely unbothered by the murmurs of other diners. Clutching her tray tightly, Mia decided this visit wasn't going to be as pleasant for him as he might have anticipated. Approaching his table, she slammed the menu down with a loud thud, making it bounce slightly on the tabletop. Without a greeting, she asked coldly, "What would you like to order?" The man looked up, smiling politely. His tone was calm and even. "I'm still deciding. Could I have a glass of water, please?" Mia nodded curtly, her dissatisfaction evident. She shot another glance at the hat, then at him, her eyes flashing with annoyance as she walked away. When she returned with the water, she placed it on the table with exaggerated force, as if it was the greatest inconvenience. The man thanked her, his serene demeanor only fueling her frustration further. Inwardly, Mia resolved to make it abundantly clear. His presence and his hat weren't welcome here. After delivering the water and receiving his calm, "Thank you," Mia's irritation reached its peak. She couldn't fathom how someone wearing a Maga hat, what she saw as a symbol of everything wrong with society, could remain so composed. She had anticipated some reaction, perhaps anger, embarrassment, or even hostility, but he sat there, quietly unbothered. When the man raised his hand to signal he was ready to order, Mia deliberately ignored him, pretending to busy herself with another table. Only after an extended pause did she reluctantly approach. "What would you like to order?" she asked, her tone dry, avoiding eye contact. "I'll have a medium-rare steak and an avocado salad," he replied, smiling slightly. His voice was steady and friendly, devoid of any malice. Her anger flared. She had expected a tense interaction, but was met with nothing but cordiality. Without another word, she scribbled down the order and walked briskly away. When the food was ready, Mia stalled at the counter, pretending to check her notes while the chef called for her to pick up the plates. Finally, she grabbed the tray and headed to the table, determined to show her disdain. She placed the steak on the table with an audible thud. The silverware clattered, and the napkin slid to the edge. The man looked up, meeting her eyes calmly, and said with genuine sincerity, "Thank you." His composure once again disarmed Mia. He didn't react to her passive-aggressive gestures, as if he were entirely unaware or uninterested. Unfazed, he began eating, while nearby diners exchanged puzzled glances. A quiet buzz of conversation filled the room, as people speculated about Mia's unusual behavior. Mia stood at the counter, seething, her eyes fixed on the man as he ate in peace. The lack of a reaction frustrated her even more. She felt an overwhelming urge to provoke him further, to make him understand that his hat, and what she believed it represented, was out of place. Minutes later, as the man was finishing his meal, Mia came up with a plan. She would make it look like an accident, but ensure maximum discomfort. Balancing a tray of drinks that included a glass of water, she approached his table. Feigning a stumble, she tilted the tray, sending the water tumbling over the edge. It spilled across the table, soaking his meal, his shirt, and the floor beneath. "Oh, I'm so sorry!" Mia exclaimed loudly, feigning clumsiness with an overly dramatic tone of insincere regret. She made no effort to clean up, standing back with her arms crossed. A hush fell over the restaurant. The usual clinking of utensils and low chatter stopped as all eyes turned to the table. A few patrons discreetly pulled out their phones to record the scene. The man, unfazed, calmly set down his fork and knife. Taking a napkin, he wiped his hands before looking up at Mia with an unshaken expression. His tone remained steady, but carried a weight of authority. "It seems I've caused quite the scene. Perhaps we should discuss this with your manager." His words, though polite, carried a firmness that stopped Mia in her tracks. She hadn't anticipated this outcome. The confidence she felt moments earlier began to crumble. Around the restaurant, hushed whispers grew louder. Some patrons clearly sympathized with the man, while others looked disapprovingly at Mia. Hearing the commotion, other staff members, including the manager, rushed over. As they approached, Mia's heart raced. She realized she had underestimated the situation, and him. When the customer suggested involving the manager, Mia, confident in her righteousness, eagerly agreed. Casting a quick glance at the man, who continued sitting calmly without even attempting to wipe the water from his clothes, she felt her irritation deepen. She marched to the counter, where she found the manager, Anton, a composed professional man in his mid-30s. "We have an issue with the customer," she said loudly. "He's disrupting the restaurant's atmosphere with his appearance and behavior." Anton, surprised by her tone, raised an eyebrow. "What exactly happened?" he asked. "That man in the red Maga hat," Mia explained with obvious frustration. "He's provoking the other guests with his appearance, and now he's causing a scene after I accidentally spilled water. I think we should ask him to leave." Anton frowned. To him, the restaurant was more than just a workplace. It was a place where all guests deserved respect. He decided to address the situation personally and followed Mia to the table. Approaching the man, Anton maintained his professionalism and said, "Good afternoon. My name is Anton, and I'm the manager here. Could you tell me what happened?" The man looked up, meeting Anton's eyes calmly. "Thank you for coming over. Allow me to introduce myself. John Harper." He reached into his jacket, pulled out an ID, and placed it on the table where Anton could see it clearly. "I'm a retired major. I came here today to check out the venue for an upcoming veterans event we plan to host at your restaurant." Anton froze, scanning the ID before looking back at John with visible surprise. Guests at nearby tables, still watching intently, started whispering louder. John continued, his voice calm and steady. "By the way, I'm also a close friend of the restaurant's owner. We served together. He personally recommended this place as a perfect spot for our event." Anton's face went pale, and for a moment, his professional demeanor faltered. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he quickly straightened up and offered an apologetic nod. "Major Harper, please accept my apologies. This is clearly a misunderstanding. I'll resolve this issue immediately." Turning to Mia, Anton's expression demanded an explanation. But instead of admitting her mistake, Mia began defending herself. "I just thought that kind of hat was inappropriate here. It could offend some of our guests. I was only trying to protect the restaurant's atmosphere." John looked at her, his tone still calm but now firmer. "The restaurant's atmosphere, you say? I wore this hat not to provoke, but because it represents values I serve to defend. Freedom is one of those values. It's strange to hear that in a place I hope to host a veterans gathering, someone is judged solely by their clothing." John's words were met with silence. Mia lowered her gaze, realizing her argument no longer held weight. Anton, sensing the situation was spiraling further, spoke firmly. "Major Harper, on behalf of the entire restaurant staff, I sincerely apologize for the behavior of our employee. We will do everything we can to make this right." John nodded, locking eyes with Anton. "I hope you mean that. This restaurant has a good reputation, and I'd like to see it remain that way." Anton apologized again, then escorted Mia out of the dining area for a private discussion. Meanwhile, the other guests began talking amongst themselves, some even clapping in admiration of John's composure. Despite the incident, John calmly finished his meal, his dignity intact. Following the incident, Anton called an immediate staff meeting. The entire team gathered in the break room as Anton, standing at the front, spoke firmly but measuredly. What happened today was unacceptable. Our restaurant is a place where every guest should feel welcome, regardless of their beliefs, opinions, or appearance. Professionalism is non-negotiable. He emphasized the importance of maintaining professional standards, reminding everyone that personal biases had no place in customer service. Finally, he turned his attention to Mia, who stood slightly apart, her gaze fixed on the floor. "Mia," he began, "your behavior today jeopardized the restaurant's reputation. You didn't just violate our service standards, you allowed your personal prejudices to become obvious to our guests. This cannot be ignored." After a brief pause, he continued, "You are being temporarily suspended. This is not a punishment, but an opportunity to reflect on your actions and understand why they were wrong." Mia nodded, knowing her excuses would change nothing. Her face betrayed a mix of embarrassment and regret. Meanwhile, Major John Harper finished his meal, unbothered by the attention he had drawn. Before leaving, he called Anton over to express his appreciation for the manager's efforts to address the situation. "Anton," he said, extending a handshake, "I appreciate your apology. It's important that people learn from situations like this. I hope this experience serves as a lesson for everyone. And do remind your staff, things aren't always what they seem." With that, John left a generous tip on the table and walked out. His departure met with respectful gazes from the other patrons. But the story didn't end there. One of the customers had recorded the incident on their phone and uploaded it to social media. The video quickly went viral, sparking widespread debate. Some criticized Maya's actions, others discussed the boundaries of free expression, and many praised John for his calm and dignified response, calling him a model of true character. The restaurant experienced an unexpected surge of new customers drawn by the story. However, the viral attention also pushed management to re-evaluate their internal policies. They implemented additional training for staff to prevent future incidents. For Mia, the episode was a turning point. During her suspension, she reflected deeply on her actions. When she returned to work, her attitude toward customers had noticeably shifted. She became more tolerant and committed to maintaining professionalism above all else. As for John Harper, he remained true to his principles. His ability to stay composed in a challenging situation proved that true strength lies not in retaliation but in maintaining dignity and respect.